So many things are happening on campus in Greeley at any point in time that it can be hard to reflect on how those events affect both the campus and the city. Bear News reporter Will Coleman takes a look at a returning podcast that aims to alleviate this issue.
From Call Her Daddy to the Joe Rogan Experience, podcasts have become extremely popular in recent years. Podcasting can be used for a wide range of information and messaging, but the journalism department's very own Isabella Marcus Porter uses the Bear in Mind podcast to put fellow UNC students in touch with their campus and community.
It's basically a podcast that is meant to talk to UNC staff, students, faculty, and alumni, just about stuff that is happening either at UNC, in Greeley, or nationwide.
Though Marcus Porter runs the show now, Bear in Mind was originally created by adjunct instructor Dannon Cox and ran from 2017 to 2020. Though a departure from her previous work as a journalism student, Marcus Porter hopes the podcast will allow listeners a more personal look at the world around them.
I think the goal of the podcast is to have stories, especially at UNC, and have people at UNC have a more conversational story rather than just a regular news story, which a regular news story is great. But I think one thing that lacks from a lot of news stories is the humanity in it. And I really like podcasts, and I want this podcast to more be looking at the human aspect and having a conversation with the people who are actually doing things at UNC.
UNC is a campus full of stories, and potential listeners of Bear in Mind can look forward to a range of topics and interviews, from the original host of the podcast to some of the student leaders behind last year's Black is Punk exhibit.
I have heard a lot of students and people say oh, there's nothing happening in Greeley ever, and I think that there are so many people at this campus, at this university, who are doing so many cool things that I don't think people really know about. And I think it's a good opportunity to get people to know more about this, as well as just what's happening nationwide and talking about topics that they just want to talk about. So I hope listeners are able to find a connection and be able to either want to be involved more with stuff in the university and know more about stuff in the university, or learn something new about maybe a topic that they don't know so much about.
For Bear News, I'm Will Coleman.